Alright, we're going to find the equation for these four graphs. You can tell this is a parabola, a circle, an ellipse, and a hyperbola. So to get the equations of them, you have to go back and think about the equations and find the vertices and stuff like that to help you out. For instance, this one has a vertice, as you can tell, at 1, comma, negative 2. That's my vertex. Now, from there, I want to make an equation. Now, what you need to think about, let's go back to first, going back to this thing. You have a x minus h squared plus k. This is first semester. That's how you find, you graphed a parabola before. That is a happy parabola, and hk, remember this is your hk. Those are your hk's. Now, your hk was your vertex. Now what happens here is instead of this equation, what's going to happen is you now are going to have this one. Now what's weird is instead of y equals, you now have x equals. And in here you have the y. And now instead of h, well, h used to be with the x. And k used to be the y value. So what happens is the k actually is inside next to the y, and the h is outside. So you got to be careful of this. So when you have an equation, it's either going to be one of these two forms. Now, for this particular problem, well, what you notice is this one is sideways on the x-axis to the negative side. So I know it's going to be the x equals 1. Now, by the way, a, when you're doing this kind of problem, a will always be 1. It's way too hard to kind of figure out the a value in this kind of problem. So normally it'll always be 1. So I'm going to put y, and then here I'm going to have squared. Okay, so I'm going with the red equation here because I know it's going to the left. Now, I know it's going to the left, so actually, there is one thing I forgot. There would be a negative 1 out front, which I forgot about that. That'd be a negative 1 in front, because how do I know that? It's going to the negative side. So I know that's going to be a negative value. Okay? Now, it's also normal, so negative 1 would give you a normal graph. So, kind of squeeze that in, sorry. Now our next question is, we want to find hk. Well, we said hk is 1, negative 2, because we go over 1, down 2. So k, because it's the x equals, is your negative 2. So the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. H is just 1. It's kind of tough when it's backwards, but this is k, this is h, and it's always the opposite of what's in the parentheses. So y equals negative 1, y plus 2 squared plus 1. That would be the equation of that parabola. Alright, this one. I want to get the equation of this circle. Well, you first need to find the center of your circle. The center looks like it's 2, 4. That's the center. And for the equation of a circle, well, what you got to realize is it's simply just x minus h squared plus x minus, plus y minus k squared equals 1. Again, h always goes with x, k always goes with y. That's your equation for a circle. hk is your center instead of your vertex this time. So what we have here simply is going to be x minus, what's the opposite of 2? It looks like it'd be negative 2, so x minus 2, plus y, well, y is 4, so that's minus 4, the opposite is minus 4. And that equals, oops, I messed up. It's not equal to 1. It's equal to your radius squared. I messed it up. Radius squared. So the radius here, well, let's look. What is that length? Well, these are going by 2, so 2, 4, 5. So my radius here was 5. So when I square 5, isn't that 25? So that would be the equation of this circle. Next problem. I want to do this ellipse. What you got to do is you first have to find the center. So the center is right there. Okay, that center, the center of this, it looks like it's going to be about 3, negative 2. That's the center. And then you have to find the major and minor axes. So for this particular problem is the formula for this type of problem is you have to kind of go to, it's going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, and this is always equal to 1. Now, depending on your type of problem, which way it's stretched, it all depends on which one's a squared and b squared, but these right here are the stretching. So this is, in this particular one, a squared and b squared. But sometimes you get a b squared here and a squared there. But since this one's stretched left and right, we know it's going to be this particular type. Anywho, so from here, we know for my answer, it's going to be x, the opposite of x is negative 3 squared, plus, for an ellipse, it's always plus, and it's always going to equal 1. And here for y, well, the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2, so hk is always opposites, except here it was the same because it wasn't in parentheses. And how do we find these bottom values? Well, what you do is you look at this. What is that length? That is your major axis. Well, these go by, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went 6 over. So 6 squared is 36. Now, why did I put this? Again, that's 6. Why did I put it under the x? Well, isn't that an x value? Isn't that over to the x axis, y axis? Towards the x, you went over 6. And don't you square it? A squared. And for y, how far up did we go? Well, that looks like 3. So what's 3 squared? Isn't that 9? So y has a 9. The x has a 36 because that's 6 squared. That would be the equation of that ellipse. The last problem. I want to do the hyperbola. So you first need to find the center. Looks like that is negative 2, 2. That's the center. And then what you want to do is you want to create this box, because you always needed a box in order to do your hyperbola. You needed this box. Now the equation for hyperbola, well, in this particular problem, because it's opening up and down, the y is first, so it's y minus h, sorry, k, remember k always goes with y, minus x minus h squared equals 1. And in this situation, a squared is always first, b squared is always second. So when we look at this problem, well, let's do hk first of all. So the k value, remember this is h, this is k. K, the opposite of 2 is negative 2. And that's minus x minus h, the opposite of h would be positive, so this is x plus 2. And it's always equal to 1. Now, why did the y come first and the x come second? Well, this thing's opening up. Remember your y-axis. If it's opening towards your y-axis, y is first. If it's opening towards your x-axis, say if it's opening this way, your x would be first. Now, how do you find these numbers that go underneath? How do you find a squared and b squared? Well, a squared is always which direction you're going. Well, the y value. The y value, how far up did we go right here? How far is that? Well, that looks like 4. So what's 4 squared? That'd be 16. And how far over did you go? X-wise, what's your x value? Well, isn't that 2? So 2 squared is 4. That's the equation of the hyperbola.